Hi guys! So today we are here to talk about the green purple Luffy deck. Since EB02 was released, actually this leader card has been very popular, and across the tournaments it has shown great results. So today we are going to talk a little bit about what it means to the meta, what cards you might want to include into your deck list for green purple Luffy deck, and of course, how do we play this deck. Okay, but I think to begin, we should look at the guy who did really well, getting second in nationals in Japan. His green purple Luffy deck. So according to the website, this is likely to be his deck. So there's a lot of cards that allows you to search. Nico Robin allows you to search. -1 Dawn, look at 3 cards from the top of your deck and then choose one. Nami is a searcher. Zoro is a searcher, and then you have another searcher card when you fight pirates. And Going Merry itself is also like a draw slash cost increase stage card. One of the main things that you want to do for almost all green purple Luffy deck, right, is to be able to search. Why? It's because the whole deck rests on 2 cards. To become strong, you need Sanji and Pudding. So essentially what Sanji and Pudding does is that it allows you to get 1 active Dawn when you activate your leader's effect, effectively giving you 3 active Dawns when you play it. Cards like Tony Chopper, or some people play the Frankie card, is another card to get back 1 more rested Dawn from your Dawn deck because your leader card -2 Dawns. Okay, but the Sanji and Pudding one is better because it gives you back 1 active Dawn from your Dawn deck. And so if you get to play more than 1 of Sanji and Pudding, right, essentially you have no negative impact from your leader effect card. So Sanji and Pudding becoming so important to this deck means if you don't draw it, basically it's a break lah. So you have a lot of searcher cards in your deck to make sure that you will always be able to get Sanji and Pudding. The other card that will be very important is the Monkey D Luffy card. So this card is basically your main game ender. It's a rush card, it can attack twice. So 7k and 7k, between these 2 cards, you are supposed to be able to take down your opponents as quickly as possible. It's not like one of those big card decks where you can suddenly do like 10-12,000 damage, but generally it chips off at your opponent's life by doing a lot of 7k damages. So these 2 cards, you have to search it, and therefore the deck is filled with searcher cards. To ensure that you can deal with higher power defensive cards, actually there's a Brute card in here that he played. You can -2k from your opponent's power to effectively deal with the big cards. At the same time, you have cards like Usuhachi that will be able to get rid of your blockers, or rather rest the blockers so that you can do damage against high blocking decks. Okay, and finally there's the Thunder Bagua is here so that you can do counter, but at the same time it allows you to increase 1 rested Dawn. I think mainly is meant to deal with the side effects of your leader card activation. So overall, a very balanced deck here, but I think I'll show you how I personally play a green purple Luffy deck, and it's also based on some of the other deck lists that I've seen online. Okay, so this is my personal green purple Luffy deck. So there's quite a lot of differences. Number 1, actually, personally, I didn't put nearly as many searchers into the deck as the national champion. Okay, the simple reason is I feel like although Sanji and Pudding is that important, I don't think you need that many to increase your odds that much. Sometimes I will break, so there are times where after like 2 searches I still don't get a single Sanji and Pudding card. But overall, I feel like the risk is worth it. You don't need like 12 to 16 searches in your deck to make sure you get that Sanji and Pudding, especially when you have 4 of it. I think ratio wise, it just doesn't sit as well with me, and I think it limits the strategies and options you have in the deck. So basically, I only have Nami 1 cost searcher and also Zoro 4 cost searcher in my deck. Okay, but of course you will need the Going Merry. Going Merry is very important. I think like against things like Rob Lucci, against even some of your control decks, increasing the cost of your cards, especially Sanji and Pudding and Monkey D Luffy, right, really allows you to keep with your strategy. So Going Merry, 4 Nami, 4 Zoro. I think minimally, right, this is the amount of searchers and drawing cards you need in your deck. But what is different about my approach? So I found that for your curve, right, I think if you go first, you don't really need to ramp. I've seen some people play Zoro, the ramp Zoro, but I feel like it's not very necessary if you get to go first. If you get to go first, in your 3rd turn, you will naturally be able to play Sanji and Pudding, and with your leader effect, you can also play Frankie. Okay, so why did I choose to play a Frankie here? It allows you to keep on track with your overall Dawn increment. So the next turn, if you can play another Sanjay and Pudding, so having 2 Sanjay Pudding on your deck, on your field, then your leader effect suddenly becomes without repercussions, and you get a lot of Dawn to play. But even if you don't get the second Sanjay Pudding, because Frankie is a on attack card for that following turn, right, you might not get as many active Dawns, but overall you don't get too much negative effect from activating your leader effect. So that's why I think I put Frankie in. I know some people who play the chopper card here. Some people will play this chopper card, which is pretty good. You get a blocker, it's 1k counter, and you get to add the same effect as Frankie on play. But the problem is, it's actually not a straw hat crew. So it actually stops your leader effect from activating. So I found that like after people get used to this chopper card, they know to not attack your leader that turn, to make sure that your Monkey D. Luffy leader effect cannot be activated one turn after you play your Sanjay and Pudding card, which makes it a little bit limited. I know some people who play on the turn that they have 3 Dawn cards that you can use the blocker effect or whatever, but if you do that, it doesn't really make sense because the on-play effect is what you add it into your deck. So I've removed it entirely and used Frankie instead. If you play Green Purple Luffy long enough, you realize that the defensive element of the deck is what's kind of lacking. So by placing a Negro Robin 2-cost card, what happens is the 3-cost turn actually usually is wasted. So 3-cost turn, you realize I have nothing to play. What I usually then do is, if I get fortunate with the searcher, of course I play a searcher, but if I get 2 Dawn left over, I will play Negro Robin as a blocker to use in future turns because of the leader effect, right? In the later part of the game, this low cost blocker becomes very useful, and unlike Chopper, it does not affect your leader effect. So I actually kind of like this 2-cost blocker card. At the same time, actually Sanji, in the later part of the game where you really need your blocker, right, is very often a 3-cost card because of your leader effect. You are likely to have 2 less Dawn than your opponent, or you can manipulate it so that you only have 2 less Dawns. So a 3-cost 6k blocker is actually very powerful. Plus the 2k counter is a very versatile card. So I strongly recommend you to consider placing this and kind of try to keep it until you reach the later stages of the game. So Uso Hachi is for the 2k counter and also for the effect of besting some of your opponent's blocker cards. In the same way, right, I find that Zoro is a card that is a little bit overlooked. So it has a very similar effect to Uso Hachi, of course only for 4-cost or lower blockers, but the reality is at the current meta, most of your blockers are 4-cost and lower, which means that it can get rid of some of your blockers and help you to end the game. At the same time, your opponent has 2 or more characters on the field and one of them is rested. This card essentially allows you to get rid of one of your opponent's card the turn that is played. What I found is that against things like Blue-Black Usopp, against your Bonnie decks, where there's super a lot of like blockers, especially the Rosinante blocker, this card is very important. So it's something that I have decided after trying, good to have in my deck. Okay, so I've already explained Sanji and Monkey D. Luffy, which I will not explain more. So similarly, right, Gum Jack Gatling is there for, you realize that there's quite a lot of cards here, and the event card, stage card, that doesn't have any counter, so the counter becomes a problem. And I kind of predict that Bonnie and Smoker are going to become very popular, which means that your Hody Jones is going to be a problem. Having a 0-cost event card that allows you to counter plus 3k in your deck might come in useful. So this is my prediction, but I'll explain a little bit more why I think Bonnie and Smoker Leaders will become more popular. Gangan Giant is, until they restrict it or ban it, always have it in your deck. I think we have talked about how this deck requires a lot of drawing. I know that it tends to be behind on the amount of Dawn cards it has, but I think if you play it well, you calculate things properly, you still want a Gum Giant in your deck. So the one I have chose to play is a Gum Giant Pistol, because what I found is that sometimes a lot of your other opponents, they have a lot of counters in their hand, and your Monkey D. Luffy card with the high cost it takes to attack twice, you kind of want to end the game with it. And this card allowing you to plus 6,000 to it, end the game, I think it is very helpful. Of course, it doesn't get to be refreshed the next phase, but I feel like overall you should be aiming to end the game when you play this combination. And 9 cost, right, 6 plus 3, 9 cost in total plus your leader effect, I think is very playable. So it does allow your Monkey D. Luffy to strike 2 times with about 13k. That is usually enough to end the game. Okay, but even if you don't want to play this, you feel like you just need to strike maybe against the Doflamingo, you just need like 7k. But in the earlier part of the game, if you add this Gangnam Giant Pistol to say your Nami, Usohachi, you can use it to get rid of one of your opponents. And usually these cards, right, Usohachi, Nami, the more you attack, you expect it to be gone next turn anyway. So I think this card is actually a little bit more flexible and versatile than most people think it is. You just need to be a little bit daring and not only use it for your Monkey D. Luffy. But I think it pays to talk about some of the other cards that people like to include in this deck. Nico Robin card, I think there is a chance that your Rob Lucci will be on the rise again with the exit of Blackbeard. I'll explain a little more. So I think maybe your Nico Robin card, which can protect all your other cards from cost KO effect, I think this might be helpful. Okay, the last card that is more defensive that initially I included in my deck would be the Minx card, Electrical Luna. So actually I've seen quite a lot of like flagship champions use this card. What it does is that all your opponents with like 7 cost or less do not become active. So in this meta where Doflamingo is kind of like king, this card is actually insanely good. The problem with this card, however, is for a lot of other meta decks, it's not so useful. So, for example, against Smoker, right, the 7 cost Smoker becomes 8 cost because of Smoker's leader card effect, and you don't get to rest it. Your Holy Jones is also 8 cost, you don't get to rest it. So, on that end, you lose. So, if you are Againt Shanks and they play things like your Rayleigh, your Dragon, your Shanks, again, they are too high cost for this card to deal with. You play against like your Kid card, your Yellow Eustace Kid card, the Kid card, your Law card, all of these are also high cost card, is also useless. Against Usopp, your Kairos is actually 8 cost with your leader effect. So again, this card doesn't do well enough. So overall, I think the decks in meta, apart from Doflamingo, who is the king of current meta, is actually not that useful. But I think like for some of you, you guys can consider playing with 2 of this and 2 of Gangnam Giant Pistol, because it's not very Gangnam Giant Pistol is not actually very necessary. But why did I say that I feel like your on-play decks will start to become popular? It's because if you look at this deck, right, it relies heavily on cards that don't care about on-play effect. So your Sanji and Pudding, and most importantly, your game ender is a rush and when attacking card. So suddenly you realize that the best deck in format, arguably Green Purple Luffy, is going to destroy Blackbeard. And if many people are playing Green Purple Luffy, Blackbeard does not have a chance in the current meta. At least that's how I felt trying this deck. It means that Blackbeard might phase out. It means that cards like Bonnie and Rob Lucci, which relies heavily on play effect, might come back in. Okay, so some tips going into this deck. So just for demonstration, right, in the turn where you have your 5 Dawn turn, what everybody will do is play Sanji and Pudding, right, and then you activate your leader effect. Okay, in this case we have 3 Dawns. Sometimes you want to play Frankie because you want to get back 1 rested Dawn, right? But in your hurry you forget to use Going Merry. Actually that is a mistake. So when you have 4 and 4, you want to add the cost before you use your Frankie, so that if against Rob Lucci or other cost removal kind of decks, you can protect your Sanji and Pudding. So here I'll play this, and then now we have 5 costs, right? At the same time, right, you realize that in this case, let's say you are very eager, you have Shrug already with your maybe Frankie, you attack, right? So attack, no blocker, and then you are very excited. Very excitedly you want to use your active effect, but actually that doesn't work. You can return 2 Dawns, but there is no Dawn to activate. So actually for your leader effect to work, 4 cost cards to me is the best. You return 2 used Dawn to your Dawn deck, and then you activate the other 2 that is also rested because you play a 4 cost card, which is also the reason why I decided to put 4 of my Roronoa Zoro card into the deck. Okay, so usually if I start first, I will want at least Sanji Pudding, or so that's not good enough. This is not the best as well, but at least I have a Frankie card. Against Shanks, attacking with 5k doesn't make any sense. Usually Robin is not the best to be played here, depending on whether they play the lucky rule. But we'll just put it down in case that's not the way that they're going to play it. Okay, still no Sanjay and Pudding. I will play Zoro Zoro here, the Monkey D. Luffy. Okay, since nothing much is happening, I don't think I need to use Sanjay and Pudding yet, so I will not, leader effect yet, so I will not use it. So this is what I mean is the weakness of my deck. The Searcher with only 8, sometimes I just miss completely. Okay, 7k, I have not enough cards here, I'm going to let it in. Well, I could play a Luffy here. So 6k, 6k and 7k, but this time around, I will probably need to play Frankie first. So game 1 rested Dawn. So the 6k can attack Shanks. Chances are they are going to find a way to get rid of my Monkey D. Luffy, honestly, because next turn is the Rayleigh turn with Yasop, ban Backman, with Yasop gets rid of Monkey D. Luffy. Yep, so they are going to do that combination. I think I will keep 1 blocker each here. Likelihood of ban Backman very high, yep. To keep this first, I'm going to play 1 more blocker out there. And then I'll try to get rid of Yasop. Then we can use the leader effect. So we have 6 and 8, so we can play this at 3 costs. And then allow Frankie to attack Yasop again to get 1 rested Dawn back in. My Dawn is pretty low, so I probably won't be using Gum Gum Giant next turn, which means I can add on to my attack. Because I have no Sanjay and Pudding, right, I'm very tempted to block this so that I can continue to use my leader effect with minimal side effects, so I will block this. Okay, so add a new gate. They are gonna get rid of, yeah, very typical. So against Shanks, right, Usohachi is not very good because this guy don't really use a lot of blockers. It's the counter with the removal, which is a little bit annoying. Finally, we have a Sanjay and Pudding card. I'll still take it. It means the next time we survive, we are likely to win. We hope to survive with 2 blockers. Most likely he can get rid of at least 1, so I think I'm going to strike. Right, so the counter they get rid of the blocker, right? Expected, and he reduced my Luffy's attack, but still we have to keep 1 for Gum Giant. He's gonna be very very strong next turn with Shanks. Can strike me at least 3 times, keeping a counter here. Even if I use my blocker, I think it will be a borderline survival situation. Right, Shanks, as expected. Okay, getting rid of 1 of my Zoros. Striking at 1 of my Zoros, I can let that go. Let's see here, if I take it, next turn I can strike again, and strike twice with a max combi. I think I will win, so we will take it. Okay, 10. No more Dawn cards here. Attack. We will do a 7k here. Use the leader effect. Hopefully he takes the damage. Right? Then we could possibly win it. Right, so I think generally Green Purple Luffy is a bit too quick for Shanks, and if you have seen the way I played this round, right, actually my draw was terrible, but I still won against Shanks. Okay, against Doflamingo, of course, these two cards are going to be super important. This is a very good draw actually. But honestly, I'm afraid of the Teach card, so I'm just going to take Zoro. Okay, standard Perona. I get to draw. I get to attack him. And then I get to play a blocker. So this is my ideal situation most of the time. Right, we'll probably take this. Jinbei. Okay, we'll draw a lot of Zoro. I should have taken the Sanji and Pudding then. Okay, we'll play Sanji and Pudding. Use the leader effect. Increase cost before we play Frankie. Okay, a lot of Zoro. We have to use it. I will take this because I have very little cards in hand. Probably want to get rid of at least one card. Actually it doesn't make a difference. 6 and 6. Increase cost. Try it with a 7k. Okay. Try it with a 8k here. And we will go another 8k. Right, so they have very little cards left, but a lot of damage that can be dealt. Good thing I have a lot of counters here. Seven to 7. Okay, I don't mind getting rid of Zoro, it's okay. So this is also okay for me right now. Okay, getting rid of one of my blockers. I will use this to counter. Okay, 9 cost turn. So we make sure that they cannot block me, right? 6, 7, 8 on the blockers. Okay, leader effect here. 8 and 8, increase the cost. Get rid of the other blocker. Okay, so no more law card most probably. I will play another 2 to get rid of the last Hancock. I don't think he's going to counter. And then have a blocker in play. So definitely want to keep Sanji there. In the event where he lucks out and get a perfume card, so we will have to counter here. Okay. So rush card out. Increase the cost of probably still Sanji and Pudding is more important. And then again we do the same things. Okay, 8k attacks. 7k here. Okay, need to expand the cards from him. Huh, okay. I think I win. I think I do. Right, so I think overall, again, Green Purple Luffy just seems to have enough blockers, at least in the way that I play, enough blockers, and you can place enough cards down to chip away at the cards on field. I think the main reason why this works is because it's a pseudo 6k leader card, which is really bad for Doflamingo. Plus, unlike a Red Pearl Luffy, it has 4 lives. So I think that makes a lot of difference. You can maneuver around the perfume a little bit better. This is the matchup that most people are interested in. Okay, this is a pretty good draw. Against this guy, I actually think I need the pistol. Reason being, I think you want to get rid of Smoker, 7 cost Smoker, and leave space for the 8 cost Usta's Keep. Getting rid of the Rosinante blocker is also going to be pretty important. One Sanji and maybe an attack, yep, quite common. Do I want to ramp? Do I need to ramp? I don't think I do. This is good for Holy Jones, so I'm keeping it. Okay, let's go with Sanji Pudding first before I think about our next move. I think I will draw another card here. Oh, this is pretty good. Then maybe try with 8k. Yeah, this is good. Take this for now. Yep. Right, so we have to watch out for the Rosinante, which is why I decided to take it. Okay, I really dislike this Chopper card. It's a nuisance to get rid of on its opponent's turn. Nuisance. 8 cost turn, maybe Kid might play a Smoker card. Okay, so going all out to get rid of my Sanji and Pudding card. Well, I think I want to keep Zoro on the field. 7 cost turn without any Sanji and Pudding. That is going to be a bit bad for me. The good thing is I could use this to play my Sanji onto the field. Just to decide if I want to do that. I might need to actually. So 5 against 8. Increase this guy's cost. Okay, I kind of hope that he'll Holy Jones me. Because I have Jet Gatling and some other counters. Okay. Okay. I think that's what I'm gonna do here. Oops. Okay, so this guy has 11k, this guy has 10, 11. Let's see if it works. Alright, so we managed to pull off a win because of the Gum Giant Pistol. So overall, I do think that I know that in the National Champions, the Red Green Smoker won, but I don't feel like it's an overwhelming advantage that they have. I think it's really more, nobody's very familiar with Red Green Smoker, and honestly, I think Green Pearl Luffy has just come out for a little while. There are so many other things that have not been explored with the deck. So with Zoro, the way that it's played, I think getting rid of Rosinante becomes pretty easy. Getting rid of Sanji becomes pretty easy. I think that gives you the advantage to win the game. So that's all for this Green Purple Luffy video. I think this deck is very strong and it's going to shake up the meta. It's extremely good against Blackbeard. I played one game against Blackbeard and I won easily. It's good against Blue Black Usopp. It's kind of good against Doflamingo as well. So I think it will change the meta. So stay tuned to see how it will continue to grow after the ban. I think regardless of what happens, people will figure out this deck since it just came out. I will also be posting another video about experimental Green Purple Luffy deck, so stay tuned to find out more about how to play this deck. That's all for today. Goodbye!